welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest today is Reequal Smith, a multidisciplinary artist, choreographer, educator, originally from Bahamas, based in the beautiful island, PEI. Thanks for coming to the Sanctuary today.
Thank you, Israel. I appreciate that.
Yo, so well, I love your country. I haven't been. I keep like planning to, but hopefully I'll check it out. So let's start with what was the reason behind moving to PI from Bahamas?
um, to be honest, the main reason was just for dance, basically.
Wow.
It was just for dance. Part of me always wanted to go off to school for dance, but most of the time, you growing up, you think about like the expense, and really just depends on where you're going. But after graduating college and working, I ended up finding out about PI and their dance program through a friend of mine. We were in a band together, and I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. At that point, I already performed everywhere, basically in Nassau and throughout the Bahamas. So I just felt like, I had my fair share of my experience, and I wanted to be able to just expand my horizons. Basically, my main one of my main goals was to always just be on bigger
Mm,
stages, connect with people more internationally, and just be able to get that experience.
mm. So let's go way back. How did dance start for you?
Well, I feel like most like any young girl, dance started with me very young. My mother enrolled me in dance school at 4 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, I was dancing since then. But like any young girl, I think I was pretty attached to my mommy at that point. But it's always good to get kids into activities, and whether it's a sport, whether it's like art, anything physical, is always good to get them involved. So dance was my thing, and that's what she wanted me to be a part of because she liked it. And I wasn't someone to say, oh, I don't like this. I actually grew to like it. I guess
Mm,
after the few tears I shed of her leaving me at the dance school, afterwards, I grew to like the art, basically. um and then it just evolved from there. So the school that I attended back home, it's called Bahamas Dance Theater. And then throughout, as I got older, I had amazing dance instructors and mentors, even to this day, that they didn't want us just to be, in a box. They allowed us
mm,
to connect with other dance schools in Nassau. So we got to do cultural exchanges, work with different instructors. We did summer programs, dancing, and got the experience of being able to like, get involved into the teaching world. We did cultural exchanges with our sister school, Malone Dance Studios, based in Tennessee. And then
mm.
it just really just evolved. And later on, I was a part of a band where my mentors also facilitated and instructed, and we were able to perform in places like St. Patrick's Day Parade, Macy's Day Parade. So yeah, the band that I was a part of is called the All Star Band. We perform in Orlando, Florida Classics. That's where we first started. So yeah, it's been a real adventure that I've been very proud of and very grateful for, with all the opportunities that have come my way down the line.
Mm.
So yeah, that's basically where it all started and how I end up just transitioning here.
Amazing, amazing. What dance? I guess what style of dance did you start with, and what type of dances do you do now?
Well, in my dance school, we usually, it's very optional to take whichever class that you want, but I was enrolled in all the classes, so I did
Oh my gosh.
ballet. Yeah, because my dance schools, like some dance schools, excuse me, some dance schools that we see, they have classes throughout the week. but my dance school back at home only did classes on Saturday. So
Oh.
it was a very full day, right? It's from 9 to 3. So I did classes, I did ballet, I did jazz, I did gymnastics, I did tap. So it was the whole thing. It was the like, yeah, everything that I did, and even going to different schools, it was the same thing when we did like the cultural programs, doing all styles of dance, from even including like modern. I did a little bit of like area ballet at one time. So
Wow.
yeah, so it was just really like just being as open as possible to the dance world and gaining as
Mm.
much exposure and experience. But I once I came to PI, my program, we did basically all of the classes as well. It was less modern but more contemporary. So I think that was one of the big changes for me. Just learning more of the contemporary style, and knowing that in Canada contemporary is very big. So yeah, it was me learning that and falling in love with that and getting my body used to that, because I was very used to like
Mm.
jazz, where it was like just you know and Bahamian folklore. I was very used to that, like high energy and so forth. So I think with contemporary, it was being more vulnerable, and
Yeah.
yeah, being more vulnerable. Even like modern dance is not as vulnerable as contemporary, right? It's so vulnerable, but I think the movement still is very strong, is much stronger. Um, in terms of like structure and alignment, but it was
Mm.
me getting like more vulnerable with my feelings and letting go. And that's something that I wanted to really like play with a lot more within the work that I do. So
Mm.
as when I decided to stay in PI, I realized the kind of movement that I wanted to do wasn't really represented on a high scale. And I can run from my Caribbean roots. I mean, I'm not trying to at any point of time.
Mm.
So right now, the kind of style that I do, it's a fusion of all these different disciplines that I've been able to learn over the years. But
Mm.
it's still very connected to my culture, to the Caribbean movement, to the isolations, to the contractions, and then adding like the contemporary flair to it.
Wow. Yo, that's wild. So, like, I guess I watch, what's it called? So You Think You Can Dance, the show?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And I always feel so bad when a dancer comes and they either have a hip hop background or like a tap or jazz background, because I know they
Mm.
will like make it through the auditions, but they won't go find the show. I mean, because they don't really know contemporary, right? I
Yeah.
find that it's easier for the people that do like are experts in contemporary to like learn how to do like hip hop and jazz and stuff versus the people that do jazz and hip hop and stuff to try to do contemporary. And I feel like it's so on I want to say it's unfair, but I mean it's a show anyway. So
Yeah.
you have all these skills and now you infuse it, man. I'm like you would go so far in that competition if you ever thought of doing it. So let's talk about those Oshun Dance Company. How did that come about?
Well, it all really started during the year of 2020.
Oh
This
wow,
was
in COVID.
Yeah, it was during COVID time, but it was like when COVID was like just about to come. I think it was around March when I sat down with one of my mentors here, and it just was like circulating in me over and like in my mind over and over, because it was
Mm.
more like I don't see myself being represented here. I don't see or me being able to wake up in the morning and say, oh yes, we have like this Bahamian folklore or this Caribbean class. It was none of
Mm.
that really. And even when it came to the dance scene, like the professional dance scene, everything still was very like theater based. And you know, for me, like dancers, we're already like, we're already actresses and actors in our own way. But
Mm.
it's not where I want to be on stage saying monologues and so forth. I feel like I interpret that through my body. So as I
Mhm.
spoke to my mentor, and he was just like, "Why just you don't do your own thing?" And I was just like, "What? My own thing?" Sometimes it's so hard to stand up on your own sometimes, or to take something under your belt.
Mm.
It's scary. It's a very scary thing. So he was like, he's like, yeah, you could do it. You got it. Like, very encouraging. And for me, I think that is so important. Even as growing up, just having like really supportive and encouraging mentors and facilitators in my life that
Mm.
kept me motivated and kept me positive and believing in myself.
Mhm.
So when we had that conversation, it was now me going to the drawing board to figure out, okay, what could this be? And like what is coming underneath my business, and the name really stems from my brother. He helped me out. I called my family. I was like, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I don't know where to start. I know I need a name. So he helped me with my name during the research process. And as he came across Oshun and we spoke about it, I was like, you know what, I think that's me. I think that's the direction I want to go in. That's the kind of movement I want to be able to embrace movement through my body, and not to sexualize it, but in a very like sensual way, where we as females or femmes can be really like proud of ourselves and the way that we move, and don't have to feel timid. And I come from a culture whereas us gyrating and moving is not looked and frowned upon. That's how we release our energy, and that's how we have fun,
Mm.
and that's how we speak to our ancestors and how they live within us. So it just fits so well, and that connection. And that's where Ocean Dance Studios came from. It was
Mm.
through the COVID time. And I think in a sense, for me, COVID was harsh for a lot of people, but it also allowed me time to be like, plan, being inside, planning, figuring it out. I think the plus with living in PEI, we still had a lot of privileges in a sense, because everybody was following the rules. So when it came down to, I think it was it might have been August or September. That's when I actually created my first show here in PEI during 2020,
Mm.
because like I said, everybody was following rules. They opened up the capacity to 50%, but outdoor performances only. So that was my first time to be able to connect with people. And through my mentor, I end up connecting with some amazing people.
Mm.
And to this day, like very close friends of mine here on the island that helped me out so much and taught me so much. So
Mm.
that's where it all started. Like 2020, I was outside, 50% capacity, dancing my life away. And I was able to, like, my dancers were everybody that I knew within my program. So through 2019 to 2020, I was able to connect with so much people and find so many artists of color. And I'm like,
Mm.
let's come together. That's one thing with me. I'm really about just embracing my own people. And I was like, I don't think people on the island know that we're here, or know that all this talent is just like building
Right
up.
here. Yep.
So yeah, that was the beginning. That was the beginning of great things.
Amazing. You mentioned something about like dancing is a way of communicating to ancestors, and I'm like, yeah, to me, dancing is telling stories with your body. And I don't know if you've seen the film Sinners.
No,
Um,
not as yet.
oh my god, you should see it. So there's one scene, like, oh my, the scene actually brought tears to my eyes, and nothing really happened. So all that happened in this scene was this kid is playing his guitar, right? And then like the way it was shot was so beautiful, but
Mm,
like they just show how like African dance just like traverses, man, so many cultures and so many eras. So they were showing different dances and like
mm,
masquerades and like dance from Asia and like indigenous dance. And just talking about it, I can feel the goosebumps. It's like I've seen so many films, but that scene is one that will stick with me for a very long time. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that feels that way about it. So
mm.
when you mentioned the whole thing about dancing is a way of communicating with the ancestors, I'm like, yes, totally. You know, you tell stories with your body. I know Oshun is just a powerful name. So, with you, when you are creating a show, what is your process?
That's interesting. I feel like it takes time. I feel like creating a show or even just creating a number, a piece,
Mm,
takes a lot of time. I think it's more so of me just trying to figure out what, like, where am I at this current moment. I would say the
mm,
past shows that I produced, it was more about where I was during that current time and what I really wanted to share with others. And sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's a little bit easier, but I
mm.
would say it's to me in my mind is very chaotic because you're thinking about so much different like things, right? So much different elements. Don't let me get started just on the title alone. The title alone, and then from the title, you're trying to now build pieces that still that connects with the title and represents the title, and then
Mm,
with the piece you're trying to make sure that the movement tells the story of the piece, right? And each piece
mhm,
has its own separate title but also has a description. So
mm,
that's a next like chaotic factor for me because I don't know if some artists have this difficulty sometimes of whereas you know s- really like formulating your words and really like making it very clear of what you want the audience to interpret from the movement, and
mm,
not trying to make the wording so difficult for them to understand, right? I think I learned that somewhere as like when you create a description, um I think from an artist mindset we go into like how we see and how we feel things, but then if a person or audience member sits down and read it, they're like, what is this? Right? So even for me it's really like trying to still stay very connect with what I want to, how I want to say it, but then it's the
mm,
way that I say it for it to really be very clear because this is
mm,
the words that I'll be living on throughout. So
mm,
it's a process. Like I say, just trying to figure out where am I at that current moment to lead into the title, to build from that title, to build pieces, whether if it's one piece, if it's two pieces. But yeah, usually for me it all really starts from that and the description alone,
mm,
and then from there I can be able to like, okay, let me just think about how I feel in the process of the movement. The funny thing is sometimes music doesn't come right away, sometimes it
mm,
does and sometimes it doesn't. I realize when I'm like rehearsing, I maybe might have like another song on that I just connect with and I just start moving in space, just building up choreo in the process. But that doesn't mean that's the actual song. For some reason it's
oh,
just a song that might help me think, but
mm,
it's not what I actually want. And then I end up going back to the drawing board to really figure, okay, what what song or like in like where can I find music from that is really really like fitting with this piece. But the
mm,
music for me really I have to connect with it. I have to really connect with the music um on a really large scale, or else it's like a big struggle for me sometimes. So I would say it's a beautiful chaos, but it's a lot of elements that go into just like the creation process.
mm.
Yeah.
You know, I was actually, while you were saying that, I was just thinking of so you can dance, and I think one of the things that really makes that show, like especially for the contemporary dancers, is the songs,
Mm.
like the music they use. And you were talking about, like you're rehearsing with one song, but then you actually perform on another song. I'm like, whoa, how does that work? So, how do you now decide on song choice and like that fits with the piece you're working on?
Hmm. I think it comes from me knowing the piece, like me knowing what I actually want to create with this piece. Um And then sometimes it would be very like random because I'm always listening to music. Even when I'm doing
Mm.
like my work, I'm always just listening to music and coming across different genres. And I love everything like rhythmic. Anything that has like rhythms, I could play with like 10 different instruments in one. I just attract. And then I realize I attract a lot of I love to listen to Afro Cuban music. I love to
Mm.
listen to anything that has like that authenticity of like that, like just that heaviness to it.
Mm.
So sometimes it'll be very random that I just be listening to music and then I just come across something, then I go in a daze and I'm like, is this it? Or I end up going listening more of the music from that artist. And I'm like, okay, let me
Mm.
see what everything that they have. And then sometimes it works and then sometimes it might not be nothing, or it might be something that I want to take away from their music that I want to probably recreate into my own. So yeah, I would say music is very like I don't know the exact word that I want to say right now, but I feel like it's a very like cherishing moment
Mm.
because to me it really has to like connect with me. And sometimes it just comes where I could just be listening so organically, or it's like, okay, now let me put pen to paper and start like typing in different things that I want to hear and
Yeah.
see where it goes, right.
Mm.
But it takes time, and then usually I'm in my bed probably 2 o'clock in the morning just thinking
Mm.
thinking about like the sound, thinking about the music, or like where does it lie with me,
Mm-hmm.
so music is not the easiest. I definitely would say throughout everything, music is not easy because it really takes you to that place. And I
Mm.
could definitely say when I watch like dance shows and dance productions, sometimes like the movement is so beautiful, but that music, when you see that connection, of movement to that music is almost as if that when you move, you're like creating the musical notes, right? Like that's how
Mm.
I think about it. So and I feel like music is very like spiritual. It really just like you have to really connect to it. It have to be like a deeper meaning. You just can't put anything on top of something because that's a piece that is gonna live with you, a piece that
Mm.
you're gonna be doing for quite some time. So, and some pieces, like you do it for a period of time, like, you know what, okay, I did that then, that's it. But you
Done.
have some pieces that really sometimes stick with you and could lead you a long way. So, yeah, music is a very cherishing moment, but it is a very, to me, that takes me some time throughout the
Mm.
process. It drives
So
me crazy.
yeah. Sorry that he does that to you. But I'm curious, like when you now lock down, okay, this is the song. Like do you have to listen to it over and over while you're performing? And do you ever just get to a point where like I've heard this song too much? Or how does that work?
Hmm. Interesting question. I wouldn't say it's where I hear it too much because for some reason I think when I first picked it is something that I wanted to pick.
Mm.
So if for me to do a piece a number of times listening to the same music, which I've done numerous of times back at home performing in hotels. Like every day you perform, you have to have a new inspiration, new spark to go on that stage, a new frame of mind, a new thought, um, to be able to like channel the movement, but also give the audience a good show,
Mm.
right? So, but it has been moments I would say in the past, especially working in a hotel where, those songs you hear so much and it might be a piece that you do numerous times, like because in a hotel you're dancing every week. You could be dancing twice or three times a week and it's gonna be a different show. And that show is
Mm.
gonna go on for months. So it has been moments where I've been like that to the point where as once we finish that show completely, I don't want to. I let that song rest.
Like I don't want to hear it again.
I let that song rest, but that song was was like I put that song down to the point where like I really don't want to hear that song no more. And it's like it's almost like it's a haunting feeling because no matter when it comes on, you still know the choreography because you like
Yeah,
it's ingrained in
yeah,
your body. But
yeah.
I would say for like my personal work that I've been had the accomplishments to create, I haven't had that feeling yet.
Mm,
Sometimes I do be like, okay, maybe the song that I chose, it was good then, but it may not be good now. But I know
mm,
the movement and the piece itself is something that I'm really connected to. So how can I
mm.
recreate this to something else that might be a little bit
Ah.
stronger? Because like I say, sometimes as artists we create things and then we put it to the side and then we bring it back and we be like, now I have a different train of thought. Now I have a
Mm,
different, notion of what I actually want from this and how I want
mm,
to and how I really want to see it. So it might be just something totally new, which I've done before as well. And then I'm like, yeah, this is the song for it. This is what
yeah.
it should be. So yeah, it's like a 50-50. I'm gonna tell you, I have had those moments where I said I laid that song to rest. And the thing is so funny that even like culturally speaking, like with Bahamian folklore and knowing all the songs that I've danced to in the past, and even the songs that I put down to rest, it's so funny
Mm,
that even when I teach, it's like those are the songs that
mm,
like I could create choreography in my sleep.
mm, mm.
Easy, right? Easy. I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
create choreo like, a minute or so, like in an hour or so, because that music like so integrated in me. I could
Mm,
like, scoop it up, but then it's like iconic songs, and the songs that I know culturally speaking would be perfect to share with others.
mm.
I had to
Yeah.
go through the process of dancing to the song over and over and over and over again, but I know it's a song that would stand out.
Mm.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
tell you, it's a haunting feeling.
yeah, no, I totally understand, but like there are songs that just stick with you and they're just experiences. Like I think that's one of the power of music, that it transports you to a certain place or to a certain
Yeah,
emotion or a certain feeling. And I was thinking though, just in general, you do Oshun dance, you do teachings, you do all these things, but then you also do stuff with like the Black Cultural Society or PEI, you do stuff with like Canadian Women, like you do stuff with other organizations, the Fringe Festival. And I'm like, how do you find the time to do all these things?
I was always a busybody. I feel like I was always a busybody. Even back at home, my mommy would always say, I don't keep still. I don't keep still. And my answer to her was like, you put me in this. You put me in this world. And now this is the world that I live in. So, I'm doing probably sometimes two shows a night. Or like say if it's Christmas time or New Year's, that's peak season for fire dancing, right? You may have
Wow.
like 3 shows a night on New Year's Eve. And when I
Wow,
say
wow,
the
wow.
adrenaline rush is high, it is high. But it's like it's the thrill about it. I'm driving from one location to the next location to the next location. I don't
Mm-hmm.
map out times, traffic. Like
Mm.
it's just adrenaline rush. So for me, I felt that when I came to PI and after I graduated, I already knew the culture was different, and I needed to find out how can I keep that adrenaline rush because that's all I
Mm.
know. And I felt like if I didn't have that, I wasn't doing enough for myself, or I was losing a part of me. That's something that I don't know what it is just to do one thing. What do you
Mm.
mean just one thing, or like have one show and then that's it? I don't know that life at all.
Mm.
So being involved in so many different organizations or nonprofits, to me, I make it work. I make it work, but I also try to find balance in between everything. Sitting
Mm,
on boards, I always want to be involved in community. I want to be involved and be connected to either learn or be able to
mm.
share what I feel may be important, and for
Wow.
others probably to take it in. But I also realize those commitments aren't as heavy, so I could balance those out, right? And then with
Wow.
my day job, it's like, okay, yeah, I can make this work. It's hard as an artist. You always do multiple things. We always have to juggle so many different hats, right?
Mm,
But we make it work some kind of way. With my day job, that's in the day, and then after that is either I might be teaching, so I need to make sure I plan ahead of time, or
mm.
I might just be doing ocean work, right? Which is a lot of admin sometimes, or being able to get into the studio to rehearse. It's a lot. It's sometimes I feel like I have to remember what day it is. I have to be like, oh, yes, this is what it is. But I write everything down. That's the thing about it. I write everything down in my calendar. So
Mm.
most of the time, it's like if it's not in that calendar, if I don't see it, then
Not happening.
yeah, it's not happening. Or
Yeah.
like once I already have like my week set of knowing what is what, then
Mm,
then yeah, right. I would say sometimes the hardest part is probably like planning in advance, just not
mm,
knowing what may happen or things may come up.
mm,
And I
mm.
think that's always the hard part for me. But I'm also a person to say, yeah, okay, well, if it's free, then
Yeah.
I put it down now, and then we see what happens then. So yeah, usually I know I make it work, but I was always a busybody, multitasker at hand.
Okay, yeah, just talking about that is like having me tired, just imagining it. So I gotta ask, how do you rest? What do you do to rest?
That's a good question. I was asked this question the other day. What does my rest look like? And I would definitely say I'm trying to figure it out. My rest my rest usually looks like, usually when I finish like my day job, I may have, if it's a free day, I have
Mm,
time to go like very slow, but I still do work because I'm still doing like oceans work, but I take time to get into that. So I
mm,
make sure I have time for me, at least 2 hours or so, just to unwind,
mm-hmm,
or if it's just walking outside or listening to music just to clear my mind.
mm,
Um, and then if it's a day where I know I have like back to back things, rest doesn't come until I probably finish. If I'm able to take like a 20-30 minute nap, oh, I am happy. I'm so good. Like the
mm,
I'm a nap person between everything that I do. Um but yeah, sometimes I may not even have that. Sometimes just popping in, probably trying to get a snack or so before I have to move on to the next thing. So rest
mm.
comes when I know for sure that I'm back home and I don't have to move. But I try to find time, as much time as I could, to take time to rest, to
Mm,
find that balance. Even after a busy summer, right now is even in between. I was finding moments where I could rest, or my rest may just be, walking around or going outside or going to the restaurants. Like that also to me is my rest, because
mm,
I'm taking that time off for myself. So I think like that's the most important. It's just not about just laying down physically,
mm,
which is also important, but it's taking time out for yourself. Like I learned
mm,
in school in Holland College. Um, One of my facilitators, it was a theater class. The one thing that, if it's anything that stuck with me throughout this class, she always said that I want everybody to choose a day or make it a Friday where that day is your artist day. So no matter what you're doing throughout the week, how busy life gets, that Friday is your day,
mm,
and you take time out, you go somewhere to a coffee shop, anywhere, but you take time for you and you write things down, you figure things out, plan, etc., etc. And to this day, I take initiative into that. So I feel like whenever I have that time for me and I go to a coffee shop.
Mm,
That's me like bringing like 100 down to like 20%, because I don't feel so pressured. I don't feel like I'm on a time crunch. I like coffee shops. I like the noise. I like the relaxing feeling of it. So I'm really much at ease. I'm like,
mm,
okay, this is a way to relax as well. So it's a lot of different ways that I try to figure out how do I create me time and find that balance.
mm,
But like I say, it's constantly figuring out and then knowing when, okay, yeah, that's enough. I don't need to do
mm,
anything this week. I am resetting.
mm. I'm curious, while you were saying that, this thing runs into my head because again, so you can kick dance. Why is it that dancers always count in fours and eights? Five, six, seven, eight, and one, two, three, four. Why? Well, like, what? Why?
Interesting. I To be honest, I don't know who created that pattern, but I know it works. But the thing about it
Oh,
is, I've danced with instructors that, especially if you're doing like West African movement, sometimes the counts aren't in 4/8. Sometimes the counts could be in 5 or be in 7, and I feel like those are the
oh,
hardest.
wow.
Yeah, so it doesn't always go. It doesn't always go four
Oh,
eights. I know I've been in classes where the counts might have been on a 5 or on a 7, and when I
oh,
tell
wow.
you,
That is so weird.
but I'm telling you, it works. Once you get that rhythm in your body,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
works. But it's so funny because I think I told one of my instructors a long time ago. It was, I don't know what we were doing. She was counting in a different way or asking me to do something that was out of the dance world. And I literally told her, I said, I only count in 4/8. That's it. Everything else is just like just foreign to me at this point. I'm
Yeah.
like, my brain doesn't like that. Okay?
Mm,
Give me
mm,
give me the 4 counts, give me the 8 counts. Perfect.
right.
And she
Okay.
and she had a good laugh from that. I was like, my brain don't like what you're trying to tell me right
Yeah.
now. It's going against it. But yeah, I've had moments and teaching experiences as well, learning as a student where counts were in 5s and 7s, and
Mm,
whew, that was not
yeah.
easy. That was not the easy
Yeah.
one.
I can't even imagine it. I can't even imagine it. I can't even imagine it. But yeah, 4 and 8 is easy to keep count. Um, yeah. So, you've had a packed summer, things are calming down a little bit. What are some future plans for Raquel?
Whew. Well, right now, my future plans is just to re-strategize, myself and my business a little bit. So I'm working on that. I have a few projects that I'll be announcing pretty soon. Um, so I'm in the process right now, even during the slow phase, that I'm just like strategizing, mapping things out. Um, this and probably like applying for different festivals and events.
Mm,
That's the main thing that I usually be doing around this time, and grant applications, of course. So yeah, it's a lot of admin things that are happening, but I'm still teaching, so I still have that happening throughout the year, and I'm trying to see what else I can be able to do within the teaching world. Probably create some workshops that might be happening this fall. Not too sure, but I'm in the process of all that. So I think right now it's more of like thinking time and trying to figure out,
mm,
okay, where, like, how do I see oceans flowing throughout the fall, and what comes under like this fall umbrella for me, beside like
mhm.
outside of me teaching for other schools and outside of my day-to-day work life.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah, so just
wonderful.
staying tuned, through socials and so forth, of a few projects that I have coming up in short order
Yeah,
that I'll be
I mean,
announcing.
it's a good thing you mentioned socials because my mind went to that. So as an artist, you just want to create, do your dance, do your shows, do all these things. But real life says you have to do admin. Real life also says you have to do like social media. How do you, navigate? I want to create stuff, but you have to do all these grants, all this paperwork, all this social media. How do you navigate that world?
Oh, that's a part of my brain that it's a lot happening. Sometimes there's so much where I just end up stop I just stop everything, and I just take a chill pill for a minute, because it be so much stuff running through my mind. The
Mm,
admin part, I've seen myself in phases where like the admin part becomes a part of me. Whereas like if I
mm,
don't do the necessary research and hands-on work, the creative side doesn't get done. And then there's always a part of me whereas it's like, oh, like all I was doing was admin stuff. Like I need to move. So it's also me breaking away from that at some point. So like I say, it's trying to find like that balance in between to
mm,
say, well, I'm really not a good person to like set time. With how some people can say, well, I put 2 hours into my admin work. I don't know what that is. I don't put any time on anything. I just keep going.
mm,
But like I would always say that's a hard balance for me.
mhm,
Um, yeah, it's a really hard balance for me. Socials, I am not the best on socials anymore. I once was, and I do not know when I became a person that socials does not affect me. Like if I am not on social media, I'm not affected at all. But I know that's a place where I need to be able to still like put my work and
mm,
promote and so forth. So I've been slowly trying to find some kind of pattern lately. Um, of how best to go about that. So it's so easy to say, well, yeah, post or like set things out to go out once or twice a week or so forth. But then
mm,
that also is time. And you still have to find time in your schedule, because I realized that even when I decide to say, okay, create a post, and if I schedule it out for the same day or the next day, I end up being on social media for at least 2 hours. I get trapped. I get trapped. Um, I end up scrolling to see all once again the different things that's happening, applications being
mm.
open, and then don't let it get to where as I'm watching dance choreography. Oh my goodness, I'm already consumed. An hour has gone by
Right,
easy.
right, right.
So I think through all of that, it's caused me to somehow take a step back, where I feel very anxious sometimes even getting on socials, because I know it takes a good chunk of my day. Sometimes it could be relaxing, but I feel most of the time I'm like going on that, like I don't know, I just get a little antsy, and I just take a
Mm,
step away from it. But I'm trying to slowly, I create a schedule one time about my post, and I did not live up to that schedule. But I keep writing it down over and over again of the things I need to post, or what should I turn into a reel. It's a lot. But I
mm,
would say when I have projects, I definitely try to, include that in for me to get assistance, because I
mm.
cannot do it all by myself, and I know that particular part is very important, but that also takes up a lot of space and
Wow.
time that I can manage. But in the day to day life, it's, I really try. But I would say socials is really hard for me right now. But everything else, I try to manage the best way possible.
Yeah, man, it's wonderful talking to you. And we've not even touched on the many awards you've won. So I'll definitely
Oh,
have you come back to the show. I
yes.
want to end it. I want to end it with this question, though. Someone is watching, checking out this episode, and they feel so inspired by what you're doing. What advice would you have to share?
Hmm. My advice would be just believe in yourself.
Mm,
Believe in yourself, and put yourself in spaces with like-minded individuals. That's the most important. I think that's where I get all my encouragement from, all my motivation, all my knowledge, my wisdom. Put
mm,
yourself in like-minded spaces where you can be able to feel so warm and like just soak everything in as much as possible. But the main thing is, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, go for it. You know, they say the sky is the limit, and I truly believe in that. The sky is definitely the limit, but you also have to put that work in. You know, it doesn't come overnight, and I've learned that it doesn't happen just like that. It's a process. But
Mm,
if you put yourself in spaces and if you connect with people, don't be afraid to connect. I
mm.
feel like a lot of people sometimes are very hesitant, but connect, 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 connect. You don't know where those relationships can carry you. They can lead you so far. So, you know, just make sure you put yourself out there the best way possible.
Wow. Thank you so much for the time and for sharing your amazing knowledge. I really, really appreciate you. And thank you for coming to the sanctuary today, Rico.
Yes, thank you, Israel. I had a pleasure. It was fun.